It's been a wonderful day here at Tech Expo. At Connexin, we've had lots of really great conversations with loads of you actually, talking about what we're doing in the Humber, what our plans are, and how we're trying to make everyone's lives better for the good. Once again, welcome and thank you for coming today. It's been great to see you. I joined Connexin in February of last year, which was right before the start of the pandemic. So it's been a really interesting journey for me and for quite a lot of the team at Connexin since we got our Series B investment at the end of last year. So we've had a lot of the team that have joined remotely, and it's one of those things that's really highlighted the importance of networks and the infrastructure that we have across the UK and in the Humber as well. The shift to home working, the reliance on different network technologies to get along with our daily lives, to work from home, to speak with people on Teams, all those different things has really opened our eyes at Connexin and also shown a lot of companies that network technology is more important than ever. Today I wanted to give a little bit of an intro into what makes a network of networks. So the biggest network of network really is the internet, but what kind of sits alongside that, what's before that kind of makes everything tick really. And I wanted to really talk about and highlight network technology and how that plays a part in that in our daily lives and how that scales to cities to really help fuel what our mission statement here is at Connexin. So a little bit about who we are. You probably know us mostly for providing broadband services in competition with an incumbent doing fibre services. But we originally did a wireless point-to-point network and still do across Hull. And that really escalated to us providing the public Wi-Fi across Hull city centre that you can access for free today. That relationship with the council spread to us actually investing in the first IoT dedicated network in the whole of the UK. And then went on to us having the first purpose-built smart city platform in the UK as well, in Hull, in the Humber, which I think is an amazing thing for us to shout about. As I mentioned, we had £80 million investment in it last year, and that is really going towards us kind of expanding all these networks that I'm going to talk about today and give it a slight overview on. And one of the big announcements that we've had in the last few weeks is that we're actually building our own dedicated fibre network here in Hull to provide choice and options for the citizens of Hull, which is really exciting. But what I want to focus on is really what our mission is. And our mission isn't just to build a fibre network. Our mission isn't just to build an Internet of Things network. It's really to help us in the real world utilise the digital world to improve all of our lives across a number of different use cases and across a number of different industries. So I'm really going to touch a bit on that, and hopefully what I'm going to talk about is going to link back to that too. So if we're talking about network and networks, it's probably best to describe what a network is in this kind of principle. A network is essentially a collection of computers that talk to each other and allow data sharing between them. And a network of networks is essentially a multiplication of that across different network classifications. Now, I know a lot of you probably know what network classifications are, but I'm just going to give a really quick overview of these and highlight some of the technologies that we use day to day that we probably don't even think about. If we're talking about a personal device like a phone or even a clicker connected to a computer, this is what we call a personal area network. So essentially this is anything that we connect to a personal device that we use or have on ourselves. So really common example of this is if you're on a Zoom call, you might have a Bluetooth headset, you might have a USB to a mouse or a keyboard. These are all examples of having a network from a personal device, so all the things that are connected to that. When we go up a level, we've then got our local area networks. So these are things that, like routers or a Wi-Fi network in your home. So these would be things that are commonplace in most homes now across the UK. And essentially, these are networks that connect all of your personal area networks, so all of your devices, all of the peripherals to them, all kind of coincide with a local area network. So examples of technology here are things like Wi-Fi or Ethernet optical cables, something like that. Then we get to the big stuff. We've got our router, we connected all our personal devices, now we're looking at a metropolitan area network, or these are some most commonly also described as a wide area network. So these are things like the fiber project that we've got, wireless networks, as I mentioned previously, anything that then connects a load of lands to a wider area, so such as Hull. And then we get into the really, really big stuff. So these are wide area networks. So these are networks that aren't just across a city, they're nationwide, they're really, really widespread. So you're thinking about 4G, 5G now, with all the 5G spectrums that have come out, and LoRaWAN, which is a network technology that we use quite commonly here at Connexin to connect devices to the Internet of Things. And there's a reason why we don't just use 4G, 5G or fiber and all those things for those use cases, because it really is different. So why is there so many technologies? Well, each technology has its own kind of certain characteristics. So it could be bandwidth, so how much megabits or gigabits it transfers per second. Latency, so how quickly a packet of data can be transferred from one device to another and decoded and interpreted. Range, so for example, Wi-Fi probably wouldn't reach much further than this side of the room to that side of the room, whereas a mobile signal would reach for kilometers potentially. And all of these different attributes of networks really kind of suit different use cases and applications. So you would, as I mentioned before, you wouldn't just use Wi-Fi or fiber all the way through end to end. You would use a combination of these different networks. And that's really what helps the network of networks to function properly, because you've got different network technologies that work for different use cases. So for example here, I've got a bit of a diagram here which kind of shows kind of the range and the bandwidth of different technologies, so you can kind of get a sense of idea of how they all fit in and cover all that space there. So for example, LoRa would be a low power wide area network which would drain batteries of hardware connected to it less and also cover a wider area, and then things like Wi-Fi and mobile where you want to actually transfer large packets of data but generally over a shorter distance. So let's take a use case, right? So if you're a council and you want to measure the fill level of your bins, what network technology do you use? Well, you don't necessarily use mobile data, because if you did use a mobile sensor, laser, whatever it is, you'd actually have to change the battery every 7 days, right? So if you use your phone, you're going to have to charge your phone every day, because when you're connecting to a 4G, 5G or Wi-Fi network, it's going to drain your battery. And for a bin level, you just need a number, right? You just need a point of reference. You're not measuring anything particularly complicated, so you don't actually need a lot of bandwidth either. And when you're a council, you're managing a lot of bins over quite a large area as well. So you need something that's going to travel across the city and allow you to measure any bin wherever it is. So what is the best technology for this? Well, we find it's something like LoRaWAN, where you can connect bins across a large area of the city, transfer small packets of data, and have sensors and lasers in the bins that have battery lives of more than 10 years, which is really convenient for a council, because then you're not going around every week having to reinstall a sensor or put a new battery in a bin, and you're still getting the same kind of data. And as I mentioned earlier, it's a really bad Three Musketeers pun, but it's all for one and none for all. You're not just going to use one network technology for a use case, you're going to use multiple. And this is just an example of how different technologies complement each other. So for LoRa, as I mentioned, things like sensors, actuators, tags are great. It's great for, but then mobile networks and Wi-Fi really help you collate that data and send larger packets of data to like a cloud server or something like that. So let's go back to our bin example. So you've got a bin sensor that's it's in the bin, it's at the top of the lid, it's measuring that fill level, and that's going to be over a LoRaWAN connection. And then that's an example of lots of local area networks, so lots of gateways connecting to 5, 10 bins, all amalgamated together, which then the gateway then connects to the fiber, or it connects to Wi-Fi or a fixed wireless access network, to then send all of that data to a cloud server, which you can then visualize on a cloud platform. So you're then again using a fiber network or a wireless network to then access all that data from your office or from your home. So, for example, Hull City Council would use a platform to then access all that data from their office. Now, this is just part of the story. That's just really one use case of a network of networks. Waste is just one of them. I mean, you're going to have sensors from a load of different devices and a load of different things that don't naturally connect to the internet. So it could be grit bins, it could be waste bins, it could be air quality sensors, all those kind of things. And then you can also add on top of that API connections. So something like, what's the weather like in that area for the day? So then you can start to correlate data from weather with footfall, for example, and see what the trends are between a sunny day on the amount of people going to a certain area of the city. And then this is all connected by different networks, which is then visualized on the platform to then give you a load of different smart solutions across the city. So things like parking, flood prevention, loads of different things that we've been showing on our stand today. But it isn't just cities, right? There's loads and loads of areas of our society and our lives that are impacted by a network and networks and can be impacted by different network technologies. So I mentioned a few in smart cities, but if we look at health, for example, increasing people, the elderly's time in independent living is really important for our healthcare system, because if we're just going to, if people can't feel like they can live independently, then it's going to put strain on care homes, on hospitals in terms of beds. So by being able to connect different devices using different network technologies in the home, such as sensoring around the house, so you can start to pick up trends in what people are doing through things like radar or smart switches, all that kind of thing, using Bluetooth devices and devices that are connected to like a Wi-Fi home network. You can start to highlight and understand when things go wrong, and to also make families more comfortable with elderly being at home for a longer time before going into care. You've then also got utilities, right? So if you've got a LoRaWAN network across the Humber, you can then start to utilize that in terms of water. So we've worked with Yorkshire Water in terms of measuring water flow and water metering, and also monitoring assets as well, to save water, to reduce carbon footprint, all those kind of things. And then buildings as well, so things like desk monitoring, health and safety compliance, so measuring Legionella on pipes, all those different things, air quality as well, especially a key thing during COVID too. And if you think about a fan experience for an arena like this, or a smart stadium, for example, you can see that all of these different things all require some kind of network technology or the network of networks. And it really puts into perspective how important it is that we have different technologies for different use cases to really get the outcomes that we desire and to improve our lives, whether that is by making our environments better, by making things easier to do, saving time, by reducing cost and wastage, all these different things. And this is just part of the story, right? Infrastructure is really, for us, the first step. Once you have infrastructure in, you can then add sensors and different applications on top of that to then bring that into a platform, use AI and machine learning to then drive further insights and intelligence with that data, and to ultimately provide the outcomes that our clients are looking for, and for us as a society too. And that's it. Once again, I really want to thank you for coming today, and I hope you've learnt a little bit around network technology and why it's really important that we diversify this, and to give you a bit more insight into Connexin's role in that, and what our vision is for the Humber. Thank you very much.